Plushy, 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 plushy. Game! This is my show, Einstein. Welcome to another video from Cardboard East. My name's Jay. I play board games from Asia and share what I find with all of you. Today, we're gonna talk about hedgehogs. And more importantly, how you could take a hedgehog plushie, commit brain surgery, and find innards that are actually a tableau building trick-taking game. Now, before we begin, I do want to mention that this is a prototype review copy, that your copy of the game won't exactly look like my copy of the game. I believe at this point, Dylan, the designer, has already split the game up into two halves, and the components have a different UI and a different art style. But all of that will be on the Kickstarter campaign page, so be sure to check out that page. On to the review! In true Taylor's trick-taking table fashion, we have Luke Skywalker, Link, Ravage, and Nikumi Cat. They are playing a 4-player game. According to the rule cards, I give each player 9 cards, and that means that we have quite a few cards left in the deck. I'm just going to leave them over here and let the game begin. We'll begin with Luke Skywalker, 4 strong with him. Now, Park Life, my apologies, is a may follow trick-taking game. So the players do not have to follow suit. They can choose to ignore it. Let's say I'll go ahead and begin with this 1 here. So I chose this as the leading card to play. Link does not have to follow suit. And let's say Link maybe doesn't want to get rid of his arrow just yet, and I'll explain those in a second. So let's say he plays his 4. He's following suit, but he doesn't have to. He doesn't want to give away his 7s. Ravage sees this and decides, well, I have a lot of cards here. I don't have to follow suit, but you know, I don't like this 4. This 4 is doing nothing for me, so he's going to play this 4. Now, even though this is a may follow game, the lowest card is going to win, not the highest. So far, Luke Skywalker is winning, and then we'll see what happens here. Now, Nikumi Cat is being quite wily here. They don't have to play, but in order to win, there has to be lower than 1. 1 is almost the lowest of a suit. But instead, Nikumi Cat's going to play this wild card here, which is a 0, which is lower than a 1, and it is of every suit. Don't be confused by this house. We'll explain what this house means in just a second. So Nikumi Cat plays a 0. It's of the same suit because it's a wild. Therefore, Nikumi Cat wins. All these other cards get discarded from the game, and this one goes into Nikumi's tableau. However, there is one house. That means Nikumi Cat has to discard 1 card from their hand, and let's say they're going to get rid of this 5. They don't think they're going to do much with this 5. Now, let's go ahead and introduce the arrows. Nikumi Cat won the last trick, so Nikumi Cat has to start the next trick. Nikumi Cat's going to start with this one. Now, what's the value here? Well, this left and right means that this card's value is going to equal the sum of the left and right players' number of cloud cards they have. So right now, 0, 0. So this is worth a 0. Now, if this card were over here, this would be 1 ring cloud here. So this would be a value of 1. So Nikumi Cat is being sly and placing a 0 here. Let's see what Luke does. Luke sees this 0, and he says, you know, I'm also going to play this 0. Now, even though this is in the area, this is not cards that he has won, so technically this card is still a 0. So we have a 0 and a 0, and if there is a tie, then it goes to the last played 0. Link sees this. Maybe Link wants to jump in on the 0 action. Now, maybe Link could play this card here. This would be a side arrow here, and this is the wind. So Ravage has no wind, Luke has no wind. This is a 0 card, but unlike this card, they are not the same suit. So it's the lowest of the lead suit. However, the 0 is a special card being wild. So it looks like Link can't win this game. He has no snow. So he's thinking, you know, maybe I want to get rid of... I don't want to get rid of... He has a lot of pink, so he doesn't want to get rid of the pink yet. So Link will go ahead and play this one. Ravage sees snow. Does Ravage have snow? Yes, Ravage does have snow. And Ravage is going to go ahead and place this card here. Now, this is a 0. This downward arrow means how many clouds that Ravage has. Ravage currently has 0. So this is worth 0. So you have a 0, 0, 0, 0. This is the lead suit. These two follow suit. And therefore, this is the lowest last played 0. So Ravage wins. These cards get discarded. Now Ravage is leading the next trick. But don't forget that the card Ravage 1 has 1 house. Therefore, you must discard 1 card. This is going to give me points for how many rain clouds I have. So I definitely want to score these 2 cards. So I have to win a trick with them, which isn't going to be easy. So I think I need to lose this trick. And by doing so, I am going to go ahead and, well, let's go ahead and lead with this 1 and see what happens. I still need to trash a card. So I'm going to go ahead and trash this one. Nukumi Cat sees this, and Nukumi Cat doesn't want to follow suit. Nukumi Cat thinks that they're not going to win, so they're going to go ahead and get rid of this high card 5. Luke is up to play. Doesn't have any snow, unfortunately, so Luke is going to go ahead and try and get rid of this card. Keeping his high cards, hoping for a high score. Well, unfortunately, Ravage might win this one again. So it looks like that's going to happen. And let's say Link is going to go ahead and play this. Well, it looks like Ravage won again, unfortunately. So all these are going to go here. This one is going to come down. This has 1 house. So Ravage has to discard yet another card from their hand. And let's say they get rid of this card. Ravage leads again. And let's say they play this. Now, this has an arrow pointing down. How many snowflakes does Ravage have? 1. So therefore, this has a value of 1. And then let's say here, they don't have to follow suit, but maybe for the sake of argument, they will play a 3 following suit. Luke sees this. Maybe Luke wants to kind of get rid of these low cards here. Luke definitely wants to score, but he can't follow. This one definitely can't follow either. So they're going to go ahead and get rid of this 2 because a 1 is a little bit too important. Well, it looks like Ravage won again. So this will go here. All of these will get discarded. Ravage has to discard a card from their hand. And you can kind of see where this is going. So let's say Ravage go ahead and plays this 5, thinking, well, I'm going to go ahead and do a 5 of snow. This person has no snow, so they're going to go ahead and maybe play a 3. They're not going to be able to follow or with snow, but they want to get rid of cards in their hand. Let's say they want to get rid of the 6. Link comes up, and well, they can't follow to potentially win, so they're going to go ahead and get rid of a card, but they want to get rid of a card. They think this has win, so they'll probably discard this one. And they'll play, or play this one. And then it looks like Ravage won again. Now, these go away. This card has 2 houses on it. And therefore, that means that Ravage has to discard 2 cards from their hand. They only have 1, so this one gets thrown away. And then Ravage is out. And because he can't lead the next trick, it goes to Nukumi Cat, and Nukumi Cat begins. Might play a Rain Cloud here. And then you're going to go ahead and play and play and play until all the cards are spent. If you run out of cards and you're out for that round, you continue playing. After 3 rounds, whoever has the highest score wins. And we'll get to scoring in just a second. But before we get into final scoring, I do want to mention this little hedgehog. This little hedgehog is part of one of the expansions for the game. At the end of the round, if Ravage still has this hedgehog, the hedgehog is worth 2 points. However, you can't spend the hedgehog. Normally with a card like this, where it's 5, with 2 houses, you'd have to discard 2 cards. However, you could discard 1 card and 1 hedgehog. Why would you want to do this? Well, you may want to do this for several reasons. One reason might be that you have a 6 in your hand, and the 6 will be 3 houses, and then you could play this and still be in and score more and more points. But let's go ahead and look at what a final game state might be like. And here we are at the end of the game. So after 3 rounds of play, you'll have your overall tableau. Now keep in mind that you don't remove cards at the end of each round, that you keep the cards in your tableau, and it grows and grows and grows throughout the course of the game. So let's go ahead and tally up score, and you'll find that it's quite simple. We'll start here with Luke because the force is strong with him. And it's really quite simple. We're just going to add up the numbers here. So this is 10 plus 8, that's 18 points. The 0 is worth 0 by itself. And we'll get into how to score this later on. So it's 18, and this little hedgehog here, so cute, yes she is. So Luke has 20 points. Now on to the legendary hero. You can see 7, 4 is 11, plus 2 from the hedgehog, that's 13, so 13 points so far. But Link also has these arrow cards, and arrows will score from your immediate neighbors, namely Luke and Ravage. So you'll count up the wind icons on those neighbors. So we have 1 from the 0, 2 from this 0 here. So this is worth 2 points. So 13 plus 2 is 15 points. Then we have the heat arrow. Then we look over here. That's 1, 2, 3. So that's 3 for this one. So we're up to 18 points. And then we go on to the clouds. Well, this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 5 points. So altogether, Link has 20 points. So here we have a tie. Ooh, tension. So now we go on to Ravage. But Ravage here has a lot of down arrows. Sorry, Ravage. And we're going to bring this up here so you can see. Now we'll go ahead and start with this one. This is equal to the number of cloud icons you have. So you have 1, 2, 3 from this. So that's 3, 5, that's 8. 8 plus 10 is 18. This will be 1, 2, 3, 4. So 18 plus 4 is 22 points. Go Ravage. 22 points. Ravage is in the lead. But Nikumi Cat isn't out of the race yet. Does Nikumi Cat have more than 22? Well, let's find out. So we have 5 points here. This is worth 1, 2, 3. So that's 8, 9, 10. 10 points. 11, 12. 12 points. Only 12 points. But let's see how many points this offers. Well, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 plus 12 is 18. Well, Nikumi Cat, you came in last place. Sorry. They lost. They lost. The winner is Ravage by 22 points. Oh! So right off the gate, I really, really love this game. I think it's incredibly adorable. I want all plushies to have games inside them. When I look at a plushie now and there's not a game inside, I'm like, what a waste, because this is adorable. Now, with the plushie though, it does get some wear and tear, and he's really cute. He has his little hands here held together. I played with him a little bit too much and his hands broke, so he was flip-flopping around. I asked my wife to kind of sew it together. She did, but then she did this. A little hedgehog hindquarters. Now, and to be all fair, my wife and I both lived in Asia for over a decade, and we got used to the humor there. And if you don't know, Asia has a very weird sense of humor. So take a look at Nikumi Cat here. He is the starting player token of one of my wife's favorite games, Nikumi Onsen Katakuki. And he looks adorable, but at the same time, he's also kind of anatomically correct. Hence, now your hedgehog will not have a posterior as pretty as mine, but nevertheless, it's adorable. Now, before we even begin with this, I do want to say that all the components in the game, including the plushie itself, are all prototypes, meaning that the final product won't look exactly like this. Now, I love the art style of this game. It's very, very reminiscent of Takako Takarai, who does all the artwork for the Sashi and Sashi games. But more important than that, I really love the idea of seeing this kind of narrative with all the same characters within the game. You see them all doing different things, behaving differently in all the weather, and it creates this interesting narrative throughout the game. Like these characters don't evolve or change, but you see them in different aspects of the weather, and it just helps create this nice little world. I do think the arrows are really interesting, although be it a little confusing for people. It's one of the hardest parts of the teaches that I've noticed when teaching the game to others. But I really like how it affects how you might play. Like I might play some more snow cards, but at the time, I know that every snow card I play, I'm giving my neighbors more points. And I really like that indirect interaction amongst the players. At this point, when I talk about trick-taking games, every time I see a may follow, not a must follow, my eyebrow just raises and I'm like, I don't know. Because may follows are really interesting. More often than not, they don't hit with me, but this one is quite exceptional. And I think it works really, really well. Having that extra fluidity in your hand, that flexibility in your hand, allows you to kind of go in one or two directions of going for a lot of low scoring point cards or going big for these big sevens and big sixes. Now, this isn't the first trick-taking game that builds these little tableaus in front of you throughout the course of the game, but it's one of the few that I can think of where those tableaus last hand per hand. So you're building this giant tableau over the course of the game. And what's really interesting about that is that it allows you to card count and see, well, he can follow, he could follow, he could follow, he could potentially win this suit, she could potentially win, all the zeros are out, yeah, all the zeros are out, and it creates this interesting dynamic that gets more and more layered for each hand that you play, and that final hand becomes really, really interesting with all the card counting and all the cards that are revealed, that balance between open and closed information, which you get in a lot of trick takers, just really, really sings well here. And even with the arrows pointing down to what I own, to the left and right what my neighbors get, and we're leeching off other players for points, the score is quite close and quite balanced. Usually the scores are really, really close within a few points of each other. You're never gonna see someone just blow past everyone and one person has like tons of negative points and one person's like super positive. That doesn't happen in Park Life. And I think that's a big credit for a lot of playtesting, it seems, about what's the right level of how many cards you should discard for winning this number of big cards and keeping that range of like 1 to 7 and having 5 suits. I do think that with a must follow, it seems that must follows work better with fewer suits, and that way at longer ranges. That seems to be the case here. And this is a may follow with 5 suits, so it seems that there's a lot of flexibility there in your hand. But I really love the idea of spending your little hedgehog to keep one of these big cards in your hand and trying to stay alive and be the last person to lead a trick, because then you can just plop a 7 out of your hand and score 7 points and just be there and be like, haha, well, here it is. But one of my favorite things to do in this game is to lose the lead and hold off and let everyone else go out, and then you just lead some tricks with some high scoring cards and just rack up a lot of points. And I think that's really, really fascinating and something I haven't seen a lot of trick takers do. But no game's perfect, and some things that I'd like to see changed are, well, number one is the UI of the cards. The way the cards are laid out are kind of strange. Normally you have number and then suit, and here you have number and then suit. Thankfully, those cards and the UI have been updated, and here are some images from the campaign page where you can see how Dylan has been playing around with the UI a little bit. Although I do like the new approach that Dylan's using with the cards, and I think this new UI really, really sings. Now, one minor complaint that I have is that the game comes with a score pad, and this is sleeved, and the game came with a little marker, and you can kind of use this dry erase marker here to keep score and then erase it. I found that pointless because it's really easy to calculate your score just with your eyes and brain, that I find that this is kind of useless, and I think I would rather see this be a QR code that goes to a living rule set that has multiple variants or expansions that you could lead to. I think that would be a better development choice. Now, while I'm happy that the game does come with these little player aids, I think the way it's written in here is a little ambiguous and a little bit confusing. And I really, really hope that these are rewritten to be a little bit more clear and precise. I think that if you add the QR code to a more thorough rule set, then this can just serve as a reminder of how to play. Now, some of the variants in the game that I've seen through this development process are the zeros. Sometimes it can be kind of frustrating if you never see a zero in the game. So one of the variants is that everyone starts their hand with a zero. And I think that works out a little bit better. It kind of becomes all these penguins on this iceberg where you're just waiting for someone to play theirs first and then you can play theirs. Because knowing that someone can play and then you can play, it makes you hesitant to play your zero first. But I really like that mind game that comes from that variant. There is a must follow variant, and you can totally play that way. I think the may follow actually is the better design choice, but there's the 2-player must follow variant, which does work pretty well. Although I'm very picky about my 2-player trick takers, and there are more and more of them. This one I think works okay. It doesn't really sing as well. I think that's because it wasn't specifically designed to play at 2 players. But there is also a solo and cooperative variant of this game, and the solo game does work quite well. I find it quite interesting. Now, the arrows have been a little bit contentious because sometimes people have trouble understanding them. Is it for the number value? Is it for the icons? And I think that was a little bit confusing with some of the play testing. So Dylan has removed those from the final game. I really like the arrows. I didn't think they were that confusing. But I'm hoping that there will be a future variant in the game for other players to explore and tinker with. So that way, park life feels like this park with lots of equipment that you can play with and mash together and create your own jungle gym for your own pleasure and your own meta. I think that sounds really cool. Share your thoughts on the game, or that this is a trick-taking game with a little bit of a learning curve. I think that when you're playing the suits, it kind of can be unintuitive that lowest wins and it's a may follow, but if you follow, you can win. Only if you follow, you can win. So it's a little bit confusing, I think. But I think that once you pass that, it's incredibly rewarding, and it has a lot of clever and neat ideas. It's one of those games that has a very kind of mid-stage aha moments where maybe the third trick, you're like, oh, I get how I should be playing this game, especially once you see the first person go out and drop like a big high number. And because of the way that it's played and how you kind of build your own tableau and leech off of your neighbors, it creates this idea that you want to play the game again and again and again. And with all these little variants for you to twist and turn and levers to pull, creating your own jungle gym to play with at the park, it makes this game a joy to explore. Now, I'm going to go ahead and call it that I think some crazy loon out there is going to be like, I don't want the plushie. Can there be a tuck box option where I can just put the game in this cute little box? And to those people, I have to say, it's already April, approaching May, and not many publishers in Asia have released a lot of new games yet. But I will tell you that Park Life is already one of my favorite card games of 2024, and I'm going to be incredibly surprised if it leaves my top 10. I definitely think it's going to be one of the best card games that I played this year. And I mean, look at this. It's so cute. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Thanks, everyone, for watching. If you like Cardboard East and you like what you see here, please consider helping support our channel by supporting our Patreon in that link down below. And liking and subscribing also helps. Once again, my name's Jay. I play board games from Asia and share what I find with all of you. I'm going to put some links to some videos over here that I think you'll enjoy. See you there.